Welcome to the Science for Sport podcast, where we dive into stories and insights that drive peak performance. Join us as we uncover the secrets behind the science of success. Here's your host, Richard Graves.
Hello and welcome to the Science for Sport podcast with me, Richard Graves. On this week's podcast, we're going to discuss mental health in elite level athletes. What is the impact on their careers? How aware are they of their own mental well-being? And what help is available for those struggling? My guest this week is Kofi Josephs, a professional basketball player who began playing at a collegiate level in the US before representing England and Great Britain. Now he operates in the mental health space, working with individuals and professional organisations. So, let's hear from him now.
Unlocking sports science to push the limits of human potential. This is the Science for Sport podcast.
Well, Kofi, welcome along to this week's podcast. It's great to see you. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me. We got to catch up before, meet for the first time and everything. So, yeah, really excited.
Well, a brief bit of background. As you mentioned, we bumped into each other at Huddersfield Town in League One of the EFL a few weeks ago, got talking. And the culmination of that was I turned around to you and said, look, I've got to have you on this podcast because I'm fascinated by your backstory. Some of the highlights. You graduated in psychology. You played basketball at a professional level, represented England in the Commonwealth Games and Great Britain as well. And now you've taken that on another level, set up the WhyNotI endeavour. You engaged with people on mental health. It's a fantastic story taken in its entirety. I would dare say for many of our listeners, they're not familiar with the name of Kofi Josephs. So before we go any further, tell us your story and how we're here today.
Yeah, for those that don't know who I am, Kofi Josephs, professional basketball player for England and Great Britain. Originally from Birmingham, as you can tell by the accent. Grew up single parent family, just me and my mum. I had big dreams growing up, wanted to change the world, wanted to expand my environment, wanted to go and see what I could do. I was quite small and scrawny, and because I had big dreams, I don't know, I wouldn't say I was necessarily believed in as much as I believed in myself. But yeah, I fell in love with basketball. My mentor at school, Mr. Thompson, he put a basketball in my hands. And from there, I've just put my head down and kept going, just progressing. Got a scholarship to America, played in front of Michael Jordan in the Jordan Brand Classic. Unfortunately, suffered 2 major hip surgeries when I was in America, as you can imagine. That was quite a stressful time, back to back. Obviously, while I'm studying psychology at the same time, it was very, very hard. After that, graduated, was able to be blessed with the opportunity to play basketball professionally overseas, represented England at the Commonwealth Games in Australia and Great Britain at Eurobasket in Istanbul. And from there, I've just played all over the world, 8 countries like Germany, Spain, Switzerland, Saudi, Iceland, some of the countries I've forgotten now. But yeah, my mental health definitely has suffered throughout my career because I've had such a perfectionist mindset. But I've also believed I've had the talent to be able to execute, and that's been a very, very hard thing for me. Pushed myself to the limit mentally as well as physically. Had a panic attack in a game in front of thousands of people. Quit basketball. At that time, I took some time to really sort my mental health out, came back to the game. And then I became the British Basketball League highest point scorer by a British player. And then, yeah, I just thought, if I'm able to do this, the fact that I've been very outspoken about my journey and what I've gone through, I've received so many messages from my friends and other players that I'd play against week in, week out, and I had no clue what they were going through. But because I'm so outspoken, it's kind of like I was a sounding board for them. And I understand not everyone's as outspoken as me, but that doesn't mean that they don't need support at the same time. So that's where I've started WhyNotI, which is now a preventative mental health tech platform in elite sport to be able to get bespoke support for the elite athletes, but also the bespoke data to be able to support the elite athletes in their careers and going forward.
Well, let's focus on that, because they often say, don't they, you can't know where you're heading unless you know where you've come from. And you mentioned there that you went to the US, you've got a crack at playing in the collegiate system, which for any budding pro sports athlete is the dream. And yet, the injuries aside, you're playing a game and you suffer a panic attack. Were you aware, given your history studying psychology, what it was? Or was it something that caught you completely unawares and you had to essentially press a reset button?
Yeah, it was crazy because by this point I'd been a pro for like, I don't know, like 3 years, 3 or 4 years. And I think when you're trying to be such a high achiever, especially in like such a direct competition like sport, it's you don't have time to, I don't know, really process what you're going through because you've got practice where you need to improve. You got games where you need to improve. And even if you had the perfect game, good's not good enough because next game, that just needs to now be your foundation where you keep improving. So if you're averaging 15 points, then you have a 20-point game. You need to go have 20 minimum going forward so you can keep climbing up the ranks. And I think for me, I was kind of like a horse with the blinders where anything that was going wrong, I wasn't dealing with. Anything that was going right stayed within here and we just tried to rinse and repeat. And I think that just had me so highly strung and like burnt out all the time. But obviously, you just keep going. And in elite sport is a very toxic place in terms of you can't really take a break because you've got to keep going. And even in your off season, it's all right, maybe rest your body for a week or two, but now you need to look at what you didn't do well last season and then work on that as you get ready for the new season. So it is pretty much all year round. Um, and I think for me, because I studied psychology, I knew what a panic attack was, I knew what anxiety attacks were, but it's a lot different reading about it in a textbook compared to I don't think I even saw someone have one. So my first real experience was me having one. Obviously, I knew a little bit about how it might feel, but everyone's different. It is like quite a bespoke experience. And obviously mine, in front of like 4,000 people, middle of a game, sitting on the bench, lights are on me. I'm like star player. I'm doing interviews on BBC all the time. Got a big brand. It's kind of like that's not going to be in a textbook anyway. So even if I read about it, it wouldn't have helped me really. And I really wouldn't have thought I would have been in that situation. But yeah, I knew what was going on. And it was crazy because there was nothing I could do to stop it. It was kind of like I'd pushed my body all the way to the edge and then I just flew off the cliff when I tried to stop. But I think my body was just like, this needs to happen and we're not letting you control it anymore.
And once you've had the time to process it now, and you look back and almost, I guess, look at it in the cold light of day, is this just the pressure of the moment and playing in the environment you were, or is it the culmination of many things? Because you've sort of glossed over the injuries, but set the scene. You're out there as a young athlete playing in the collegiate system, or certainly at college in the US. I'm assuming on your own. I assume your family weren't there with you. The injuries weren't to be skirted over. You broke your hip not once but twice, didn't you?
hmm Yeah, I'd say it was a culmination of things. There's because a lot of people like to separate the person from the athlete, and I just say that like if you look at it like a cake, people view the athlete as the cake and the person as the cherry, and I'm like, nah, it's the other way around. The athlete's the cherry and the person is the cake. There's no way that you can have a young talented player who's 4,000 miles away from home with an 8 hour time difference, and you think you're going to get the exact same player that is playing 20 minutes from his house. Like, there's cultural differences, there's life issues, there's so much going on. And it just, for me, they just didn't take that into consideration, or they might have, but I also understand that, yeah, he might be coming from a whole different world, but things need to get done. This is elite sport. We got practice, we got stuff to get on with. And trust me, because I also understood that, I was torn because when I'm trying to talk to my family on Skype, but then I've got practice and stuff, it's a tough thing you have to deal with when it's Thanksgiving. and you've got a game, and all your teammates' family are there. After the game, all the families are doing stuff together. It's not your reality, and unfortunately, you are going to miss your family. Do you know what I mean? There are things that come with it, and yes, it is for me to chalk it up and be like, hey, this is what you asked for. You just got to get on with it. But also, it is going to affect you, and I think the only way for it not to affect you is if you're shut off from it and are just not a human. And for me, like, birthdays don't mean anything to me now. Christmas doesn't mean anything. New Year's doesn't really mean anything because I'm in season, and because I've rarely played in the UK in the last 17 years, I'm not with my family and friends. So it's business, do you know what I mean? It's just another day to like really crack on. So I've had to kind of morph my brain. But when it comes to my hip surgeries, that in itself was a traumatic experience because I broke my hip. My coach thought I was lying. The physio, he was in cahoots with my trainer. No, he was in cahoots with my coach. So even though he knew I had serious injury, because I was like the main player on the team, here's 2 packs of paracetamol and some ice bags. You've got to play. You've got to go play. And also, a part of me is like, I know going forward in the future, I'm going to need to be tough and I'm going to need to be able to play through things. But also, I can't walk upstairs after practice. I'm taking ice baths at 11 p.m. at night every night. I'm doing my homework in the ice bath just so I can walk the next day. Because I'm really young, I don't know what's right and what's wrong. I don't know how it's going to affect me in 15 years. I have no clue. Is it going to be a benefit? Is it not? I don't even know if I'm going to make it as a pro because I've had 2 hip surgeries. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm even going to make it. So there's so much going on in your brain to even make sense of. And it's hard to make sense of now, but I know how it ends up. Imagine then where I actually don't really have a clue. It's as you can imagine, it's very stressful. On top of, I've also got basketball dreams where I want to make it. So a part of me is like, I know you can't walk, but you've already had like 2,000 milligrams of paracetamol today. You need to practice tomorrow because you need to get shots up because you've got a big game on the weekend. Go on, take another packet so you can't feel anything. Do you know what I mean? It's such a thin line, and it is a very toxic space within yourself and also within the community as well because, you know, athletes want to make it. You've gone through so much, and there's a part of you in your brain that's kind of looking at your friends who are at home with their families and stuff, and you're like, I left home 5 years ago. I've missed this, and this. Everyone's growing without me. I might as well make it worth something. Do you know what I mean? There's this phrase that if it's gonna hurt, you might as well get something out of it. So it's a very tough situation.
And this is the downside, isn't it, when we talk about sport at an elite level, because we live in this age when everything's 24/7. Social media's brought everything so much closer together. Everybody has access to information on the end of their fingertips, and we become quite analytical about it, don't we? You're playing sports at an elite level. Athletes in a professional sense are being paid well. There's a schedule to be adhered to. There's training, game, on to the next opponent, study. It's got to a stage occasionally, you sense, when you almost lose track of the fact that there are individual people involved here. As fans, media members, even athletes operating within the industry, somewhere on the line, occasionally that line becomes blurred, doesn't it?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't even think there is a line. It's all just murky and all mixed up. It's just crazy because, like, if you have a bad game and then you need to go to the grocery store and get grapes, sometimes you've got anxiety about going in there because there might be 100 people in there and some of them are fans because it's in your local area. You know what I mean? Like, you might be just driving, be like, I'm not even going to bother going there, stop at a traffic light, fan. If you've lost like a derby or haven't had a good game, they're gonna they feel because they're paying customers that they should let you know. You're an asset, you're a player, you're not a person. And I think there's not enough people within sport that have got elite athletes in their world. Like, it's very different when you're a die-hard fan and you're like off and shouting at a player. But then it's very different when your son is a player because you see him when he's just walking around the house, odd socks, on his phone, listening to music, just trying to relax, or you see him just at home, not wanting to talk to anyone because he's had a bad game, and the world doesn't see that he's more upset at himself and disappointed in himself than any fan could be. Do you know what I mean? They just think, oh, because they see you on social media, it's like, oh, he doesn't care. He lost the game and he's just not bothered. He's just out and about. It's like, it's a photo or it's an Instagram story. You just don't know. Do you know what I mean? And I think down the world with social media and everything is just blurred lines. You could see a photo of a player. Their last photo on their Instagram could be of them at a party. That photo could have been posted 6 weeks ago. But just because you today have watched them play and they've lost and you go to their social media, in your head, they're just enjoying life at a party. And it's like, that was 6 weeks ago. You don't know their actual reality. Their actual reality might be, they might still be at the practice ground. When you're spewing abuse in their comments or messaging them in DMs, giving them abuse, they could be at the practice ground, upset, working hard. But because their last photo was them enjoying life, it looks like, oh, they don't care. It's just one of those things. Like, no one used to see, when I was in America, especially, when win or lose, if I had a good game or didn't have a good game, because I knew where I wanted to get to, and Kobe Bryant was my favorite player, and it's all about putting that extra work. No one would see at 11 p.m. after the game when I've got the shooting machine. It's just me, three basketballs, headphones, the janitor's cleaning popcorn around me, and I'm shooting, working out. No one sees that, but I don't post that. But they might go on my Instagram and be like, oh, it looks like he's just always out having fun. But it's like, when I'm actually working, I'm not posting the work because I'm working. Do you know what I mean? And it's just, a lot of fans and people within sport don't know that. And it's very hard to post 24/7 everything that you do, because you're not going to make everyone happy. And also, you shouldn't have to. You should be able to move how you want. And I think, yeah, lines are just completely blurred. And it's just the way sport is now, isn't it? There is a lot of players who are doing vlogs and making content all the time, showing people their insight. And I think for those people that are really good.
And those same people, let's not forget, those same people then, if the team isn't doing well, get accused of focusing too much on social media and not on what they're being paid for, don't they? But it does lead nicely into the space you're now operating in, helping people with mental health. How has that come about, and what are some of the stories and scenarios that you've encountered? And do you feel that you've got an opportunity to make a
Yeah,
difference
so
now?
obviously, as you can imagine, it stemmed from my own experience. Because an issue I've always had is, most of the teams I've played on, pretty much all of them, I've been like a main player, like a star player. And the level of support I get was very hands-on. And I still ended up how I ended up. Now, that support wasn't necessarily psychological support in basketball anyway. It's a lot, I don't know, it's different to football and maybe like other sports, but that psychological support isn't always there. Like, there isn't like a player care, sports psychologist all the time. I think sometimes it depends on the team. But for me, you have to remember that a lot of these people in elite sport aren't like the coaches and stuff you spend the most of your time with. They are not like mental health trained. They might do a mental health first aider course, but they don't know the difference of seeing a player 24/7 who's struggling with anxiety or stress, because there's so many factors mixed up. And they've also got a team to run, which is what they should be doing. And for me, when I used to get kicked out of practice, or I'm so highly strung, or I'm aggressive and I'm fighting, I'm just acting crazy, then the next day I'm absolutely fine and I'm just a roller coaster. When I had a panic attack and I just said I quit, that's when the team were like, wow, we can't punish him because he's quit basketball. He's like the team's leading scorer and we're the first number one team in the league. What do you mean you quit? It went from he's in trouble to, nah, we need to help him. Like, what's actually going on? And then for me, I'm like, it shouldn't have took for me to have gone through all that to finally get some support. Now, If I'm playing really well, imagine if I got that support way before I ever had those issues. I would have played even better. The team would have done even better. And there were other players on the team who might not have branched out as I did, but they need support too because players taught. So that's when I was like, okay, I started helping players myself. I started talking to other athletes in other sports and lending support. But then that started burning out my mental health because there's just so much to do.
Mm.
And I thought, okay, how can I do that in a scalable way? And then that's when I've created my tech platform that provides preventative mental health support, not just mental health support, preventative, because as an athlete, the only time that we're happy is when we're playing well. The world is turning and spinning when we are playing well. So, how can we reduce the mental health issues that affect sport? Because a lot of us at this super elite level, where it's not like Monday we're really good and then Wednesday we've forgotten how to play. Like this isn't Space Jam. A lot of the time it's here. And if we can sort this, then you probably got more of a consistent type of player. And even if they're not performing well, we can just focus on the physical performance. So that's what I'm working on now and I'm building, and it's going really well.
Which is great to hear. What are some of the methods that you use, and how much success have you seen?
A lot of the success is coming with the people at the top. It's not even got to do with the players because the players, we do what we're told. I think it's getting through to the ownership, it's getting through to the general manager, it's getting through to the coaches because if you don't have a culture where this is important, it doesn't matter what you try. It's not gonna be consistent enough. It's not gonna become in their daily routines enough. It's not gonna support them enough because the people who are spending the most time with them or are setting the rules of this is how we do things here, nothing's gonna change. And especially in male sports, oh, I'm fine. Nothing's going on. Oh, I'm fine. No, I don't
It's a
need it.
phrase we often hear, isn't it?
Yeah, nothing's going on. But when you get support from the people at the top, that's how you can really implement change. And I think that's where I'm seeing it right now because everything starts from the top. Everything starts from the top. If the players want to do something but the coach doesn't, or the general manager doesn't, or the owner doesn't really matter what the players want to do because you're a paid employee. And I think that's where I'm seeing a lot of traction, and it's really good and really positive that they understand that at their level they're fighting for the 1% to 2%, and that usually isn't physical because everyone's talented at that level. That's why they're in the level that they're at. It's the mental side, and I think preventing these mental health issues is definitely helping.
And judging by the reaction that you received to this point, are you upbeat? Are you positive? Because let's be honest, the spotlight shone on sport has never been as bright, never as intense as it is now.
Hmm.
We've already touched upon it from any method you use. It's accessible. Information is accessible at the touch of your fingertips. So the question then becomes, if you're looking to make change from the top down, are you getting through, and do you see an impact?
Yeah, I am getting through. It's sometimes it's easier than others. That's the thing in business. Like that's the thing now. It's gone from sport to business. Business is different to sport. Um, it's very in sport. If you're just talented and people see it, they come flocking. In business, especially as a startup, early days, you haven't got a lot of traction, so you've kind of got to figure out your way with these business people who are not sports people most of the time, of finding out how they think, using my psychology and understanding what their goals are, because a lot of them are just goal orientated. They want sponsorship, they want money, whether the team wins or not. So understanding what their goals are and understanding that by solving this, it boosts what they care about, then that's how we actually get there. And yeah, I've actually got quite a lot of really positive traction. Got a load of ambassadors, but not ambassadors that are just like Commonwealth gold medalists or Olympic athletes. It's like head of safeguarding at British Judo. It's like head of safeguarding at UK Athletics. It's like people who are part of policy, and that is where you actually make changes because the people who implement the policies everyone else has to follow. And I think that goes to show that it's not just about solving mental health issues at the ground level, it's about changing the system. And for me, I'm trying to change the system because I've got nieces and nephews who, because Uncle Kofi played basketball and played on TV, I want to do that now. And in 20 years' time, I don't want them dealing with the same issues that I had to. And that doesn't come from just specific teams, that comes from like policy and culture changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, this has been a fascinating conversation, Kofi. I think you've offered plenty of food for thought for our listeners along the way as well. And for those that want to follow your story and see where this leads, where can they find you on social media?
You can find me at Dejkof. So my personal Instagram is DEJKOAF, and the WhyNotI Instagram is WhyNotI, so WhyNoti.mh for the platform. But we do a lot of stuff in the community, public speaking, just supporting people with their mental health as well. And that is WhyNotI Wellbeing on Instagram as well. And you can find me on LinkedIn at just Kofi Josephs.
We'll definitely stay in touch, and I hope to have you back at some point in the future to see how it's going as well. But like I say, really appreciate your time. It's been a fantastic discussion today.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. I'm glad we got to do this.
Unlocking sports science to push the limits of human potential. This is the Science for Sport podcast.
Many thanks to Kofi Josephs for joining me on this week's episode. And if you found what we had to say interesting and want to find out more, you can do so by visiting our website, www.scienceforsport.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please do feel free to share it with a coach, a colleague, an athlete, or a friend. Remember, the more downloads we get, the easier it becomes to attract top-level athletes or experts such as Kofi Josephs onto the show and get their expertise and insight. Well, that is just about all for this week's edition. Thanks once again for listening, and I look forward to the next time you can join me on the Science for Sport podcast.
Subscribe to the Science for Sport podcast now, wherever you listen to your podcasts. For more insights, resources, and to join the Academy, visit scienceforsport.com and connect with us on social media by searching for @ScienceForSport. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.